Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Bonsoir. The Montreal Canadiens just won against the Carolina Hurricanes for the second time this season. I wouldn't say it was in dominating, convincing fashion, but I don't think the shot count gives an accurate representation of how this game was played either. Jordan, how you feeling, man?
Awesome. What a game. We are feeling so good right now. The first period was scary.
Yes.
Montreal turned things around, and they keep doing it, right? It's a few games now in a row where after that really poor weekend in California, they turned things around. And we thought we were going to come back down to earth a little bit, but Montreal just keeps showing up. They keep doing their thing, and this is awesome, and the playoffs are looking more and more likely every single day. And we actually got other losses on this schedule for once in our life, which is awesome as well.
Yes, huge night tonight for the Montreal Canadiens as far as the standings goes, because I believe Boston lost, Detroit lost, Ottawa won and is now in a playoff spot, if I'm not incorrect. Yes, they just passed the Islanders and are now in 8th place in the East, which is, you know what? Kind of scary for the Hurricanes and the Buffalo Sabres. I would not want to face the Ottawa Senators right now. I think that every other team that's vying for that position is a better fit for all of those teams than the Ottawa Senators. But also, I believe there was another loss too, wasn't there? I said Detroit, Boston. Boston.
Detroit, Pittsburgh lost.
Pittsburgh also lost, yeah.
And Tampa's tied right now with Minnesota. So that could be a loss. Islanders lost. So actual losses, that's like 4 out of 7 teams below us that we needed to lose, which is really nice.
And considering how it's been going lately, where it's like every time they all win, it's nice to see some losses that aren't the Montreal Canadiens. That's for sure. All right, so great night for the Montreal Canadiens. We've got lots to talk about tonight. I want to talk about the flow of this game, how it broke down, because it was one of those games where like it looked like it wasn't going to go so well, and the Canadiens rallied and found themselves in it. I want to talk about Jakub Dobeš in our second period, and then in our third segment, we're going to talk about team toughness and some of the discussions that are going on around the Montreal Canadiens heading into the playoffs here. Maybe getting ahead of ourselves, but we're hyped up. They're going to make the playoffs. I think anybody who doubted from like 5 games into this season, get out of here. They've got this. They're good. They're a legit good team. They're fun.
Sorry, I just had to knock on wood real quick there, but yeah, let's hear from the amazing Inchu Bijou, and then we'll break this game down.
Let's do it.
At the famous chateau at 4000 Rue Saint-Ambroise lies one of Montreal's coolest secrets, a glamorous Gothic jewelry store owned and run by women. Inchu Bijou isn't just a business. They've built a community that supports bold creativity and expression. When I was first introduced to founder Astrida Pisigomian's shop, I was floored by the detail, vision, and scale of what she's built from her own mind. I don't think anyone would call me goth, but I know an innovator when I see one. Along with building their own business, Inchu Bijou also hosts markets for vendors in their space called Marché Maleficarum, boosting their whole community. If you don't live in Montreal, explore inchubijou.com, where you'll find over 800 designs that range from affordable to bespoke. Check out Inchu Bijou right now, a Game Over partner from the beginning.
All right, welcome back to Game Over Montreal. I'm Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Jordan Hachey, and I'm here with our amazing community. I'm seeing some comments in the chat already that I wanted to point out. Ramelli off the top was saying, "You're simply Dobeš, better than all the rest." Fantastic little mix-up there. There was Trinka was saying they totally could take on Carolina in the second round. Getting ahead of herself, but she's hyped, which... amazing. Keksho says first period was what I remember playing the Canes all those years. And the second and third period was the realization that other teams are starting to feel the same about the Canadiens. Yeah. Montreal MFC says, what a comeback. Massive win for the boys. Ramelli, start of the game was poor performance. Was my fault because I was busy instead of watching the game. Ramelli, how dare you? How dare you be busy when your Montreal Canadiens need you? We could have been in real trouble here.
Yeah, good thing you came back. We're very glad. I Miss Saku says they missed the game. Tell me how amazing it was. Well, the first period was very, 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 very a million times bad. The other two periods, very solid to good, as a matter of fact. And that's a good segue into our segment here, Andrew. Montreal gets outshot 43-19, but it's very important to look past your basic numbers and to
Yes.
look at the actual game and to watch the actual game. And I think that's something that the hockey community has done well in the past 10 years or so. It's really being able to start to incorporate advanced stats and find out differences in shot quality. And that's a big thing that we saw today. If you take a look at the overall scoreboard or the overall some of the advanced stats in the first period, yes, it was terrible. But if you look at outside the first period, the rest of the game in the second, Montreal at 5-on-5 situations, they had 54% expected goals in the second and just a hair below 50, like a negligible amount, 49.97 below 50 in the third period. And that's including a extended empty net period where Carolina generated a lot of chances. So overall, 40 minutes of hockey, really well played by Montreal. And when you can survive a terrible, crappy period like that, that's really good news.
It absolutely is. And that's the kind of team the Canadians are building, right? Not a team necessarily that you want to take periods off, but a team that can recover from a poor start to the game. And I thought the Canadians came out, their first shift was actually quite strong. And then they took that early penalty, Josh Anderson taking a kind of undisciplined penalty off of the faceoff, which also a penalty that, like, I would say doesn't get called very often, that just like getting in the way off of the faceoff, but whatever. So it's interference. And the Canadians were actually pretty good shorthanded. And then Mike Matheson tips a puck past his own goalie. He's been having some horrible bad bounces around him. And Matheson was also, I don't want to say responsible, but a bad bounce off of Mike Matheson was involved in the second Carolina Hurricanes goal, where the puck comes towards him, it hits him in the midsection, and as it's happening, his stick gets slashed out of his hand, so he can't make a play on the puck. He gets caught up the ice, and Jordan Staal is left right alone completely in front of Dobesh and roofs it on him. And at that point, it seemed like the Canadians were in a big problem. Like, it was a big problem. Things had really fallen apart. I've noticed that this team, when they give up a power play goal, they kind of crumble for a stretch. It's like the whole lineup has to go and have one bad shift, and then they start to pick it up a little bit and dig themselves out of it. I thought that happened in the Islanders game as well in the second period. Like, the one period where it kind of got away from them a little bit is they took a penalty, got scored on, and things kind of went sideways on them. It seems like they kind of panic a little bit, and then they find their game, they calm down, and they get through it. I thought that Marty St. Louis probably should have called a timeout in the first period, but that's why I'm not the coach, because apparently he knew that they didn't need to.
Yeah, otherwise, well, why would you call a timeout there when you can just waste it on a 5-on-3, Andrew, and completely have your players
True.
do nothing on a extended 5-on-3? But yeah, I think Dobesh just gave them the confidence back today. I think that's really what I come back to, where they did keep getting dominated for a stretch after that first goal, but they knew that Dobesh was not letting them out of this game, and they said, okay, good, let's come back. The last, 5 minutes of the first period were genuinely very good. In my opinion, they played really well, towards the end of that period, and it all got started with a Kapanen great tip in front, just a solid play by that second line, who by all intents and purposes has struggled today, but really showed up, or not struggled today, but struggled recently, and really showed up today with a nice tip in goal, 21st goal for Kapanen, who's also seemed to struggle a bit lately. And it was really good to see them really create some offense, and another big Demidov breakout game as well.
Yeah, Demidov looked really good tonight. First time in a while that he's looked really aggressive with the puck, and that his touches have been, like, generally pretty strong. I feel like him and Kapanen have been really struggling of late. And, like, frankly, eventually, it's not going to be tonight, because good vibes tonight, but eventually we're going to have a discussion about Oliver Kapanen, because the goals are there. 21 goals. It's fantastic. More goals than Brady Tkachuk, by the way, who scored his 20th tonight. But everything else, there's some issues. And he's a young guy. He's got potential, but there's some issues as we get going into the playoffs. But overall, this game, I was just really impressed. I think, although Cole Caulfield and that top line are getting a lot of credit for how this game turned around, I want to lay some really big praise on Noah Dobson.
Thank you.
Because Cole Caulfield's goal, yes, he won the forecheck he won the puck on the forecheck initially. Cole Caulfield was great on that goal. Huge impact shift. But Noah Dobson collects the puck on the wall and he shakes off a checker. And instead of just making like a casual play or retreating up to the blue line, he makes a decision to drive the net. And it causes complete and utter chaos in the Carolina zone and sets up Cole Caulfield for, I mean, I don't want to say an easy goal because Cole Caulfield makes everything look easy right now, but an easier goal than a normal shot, I guess. And also, he was instrumental on the next goal, the Slavkovsky tip-in goal. Although, again, Caulfield tipped it and it kind of just went off Slav's shin, but Dobson was fantastic tonight. And also, huge defensive plays. There was a play in the third period where he looked behind the play, and then I forget who it was who was on Carolina, but he just caught up to the guy and stole the puck from him and like took the puck towards the boards in the Canadian zone. Noah Dobson was phenomenal tonight.
Yeah, what a trade. I saw the first like goal, and then I looked on Blue Sky. I saw your tweet, and you said, "Oh, watch Noah Dobson on that play," or something along those lines. So I go back, I rewind my tape, and I'm like, "Wow, like that really was a nice play." He's caught along the boards. It's those plays where the players try to stop along the boards high in the zone. Happens all the time, right? But Noah Dobson just saw daylight after that. Like he somehow just shook off, I think it was Stahl, and he just drives to the net, right? And it was like you said, it was a great play. I was very impressed with that.
Oh, did we lose you there for a sec? Yeah, we lost Jordan for a sec.
And
I will fix that. Oh, he's back.
I'm back.
Right after you said, oh man, I forget where you were, but we lost you like 5-6 seconds ago.
Oh, great. Oh, yeah. So he created like multiple goals today on that back check. Like it was a beautiful stick lift. I also thought he was gone. I specifically wrote that in my notes. And yeah, he has been very, very, very strong. And I would love to see him just stay with Hudson long term. Like if they can figure out a way to keep those guys together. I know they like put them on for offensive zone faceoffs and when they're down in the third, but if they can make that a permanent pairing, like the sky is genuinely the limit for those two guys, especially if Dobson can play like this. Hudson, he's been himself, but he hasn't been quite as dominant as he can be, I would say recently. A bit of a rough turnover today that created a really good chance the other way. Just maybe him overthinking a little bit, but other than that, like he's still doing his thing. He's still making the right plays, and him and Dobson, especially on those offensive zone draws when we can win the faceoff. Hudson on his weak side, on the right side, just cutting into the middle and trying to make a play to Dobson is probably like one of the most dangerous faceoff plays in the league.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And I'll disagree with the Lane Hudson stuff. I think that people are too obsessed with points. And I know that he hasn't gotten an assist on a few goals for a while, but when you look at the underlying numbers, post Olympics, he's been the Habs' best player, and it's like not even close. Like he is absurdly dominant, and everybody who plays with them, the numbers go up. It's like the whole like the stonks meme that was popular 10 years ago. That's Lane Hudson. Like you get paired with Lane Hudson, stocks go up. It's incredible what he's able to do with players, and maybe he's trying to do a little bit too much, but I think that's more just like sometimes things bounce against you, and it just happens sometimes. One thing that I noticed in this game that made me hopeful in that first period is while the Hurricanes were territorially beyond dominant, the amount of shots they were producing, the XG wasn't really going up that much. And I was noticing there was a couple really decent chances, and Dobesh was in the first period. I think he like was good enough. He wasn't like incredible or anything. He was better, I think, the rest of the game, especially in the third period where like things could go against you really quickly with a 1-goal lead. But he was good enough in that first period. But the Hurricanes, when they get flustered, they just shoot from everywhere and hope something happens. And I think that's a big reason why they really struggle in the playoffs. Like I know they've scored a lot of goals this year, and they're a good team, especially in the regular season. They wear you down. but I don't think that they're a team that creates a lot of high quality looks. Like, they get the high quality scoring chances or the high danger chances more on rebounds and tips than they do by like creating a lot of great puck movement within the zone. They had a couple good chances tonight, but like, there's a reason why the Canadiens overall led in expected goals tonight, even though they had about half of the shot attempts. And it's the shot selection for Carolina is not great. Now, with that said, like, we're going to talk about Dobesh in the second period. I thought he was phenomenal, but this is not a game where like 40 plus shots is like, wow, they were incredible tonight. They put on tons of scoring chances. Like, in that third period at 5-on-5. So this does not count the empty net situation, but at 5-on-5, the Carolina Hurricanes had one high danger scoring chance in 13 minutes and 44 seconds. If the Canadiens were in that situation, down by a goal heading into the third period, and they got one high danger scoring chance, I think we'd all be rightly pretty mad. Like, we'd be talking about them as not doing nearly enough, right? And the Carolina Hurricanes are the top of the Eastern Conference. So the fact that the Canadiens were able to hold them to that, I think, says something about the commitment that they entered into the final 40 minutes of this game with.
Yeah, the Mike Matheson huge block. I don't know if you remember that, but he had a big block in the third period when he went down on a knee. Like, that speaks to like kind of the commitment of Montreal really trying to suppress things. And yeah, Carolina does play a lot of things on the outside, and they just try to get it to the net. And it's not always going to work when you're playing against the best goaltenders of lower quality chances, and you're playing against the teams that clear the net front extremely effectively. You're bound to run into at least one team, and if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you got to win 4 rounds. You're bound to run into one of 4 teams that are really effective at clearing the net front, or one of 4 teams that have a goalie that's incredibly good at rebound control. And if that takes away from, if you lose that, if you're Carolina, since you're not generating those incredible slot chances, those Yuri Slavkovsky bumper plays, those Ivan Demidov disgusting breakaways, like if you're not creating that, it's not going to work out for you, or unless the entire team falls asleep and you give Logan Stacom a breakaway. Like, that was, I no one, how did he get past everyone and no one noticed? Like, literally no one saw him. Even the broadcasters didn't seem to know that Stankoven was just chilling.
Yeah, he might have did he get hit earlier in the play and he got up late?
He must, maybe.
And that's how he got caught behind. Stankoven was pretty good tonight, but man, Dobesh, I'm not going to say he wasn't busy, because that's not true. Well, you know what? Let's switch to the second period. So we'll talk Dobesh in a second. There's lots to talk about in this game still, but I want to focus on Dobesh. We're going to hear from Le Saint Motel, and then we'll see you on the other side for talk about Jakub Dobesh. Stick with us.
While you're browsing Inchu Bijou's goth shop, head next door and discover Montreal's most unique selfie studio. Whether you're looking to take some banger pics of your Halloween costume or cosplay, or you want to make some memories with friends, Le Saint Motel has you covered. Experience their bombastic decors that are always changing, hop in the ball pit, and take advantage of their extensive and flexible on-site lighting. Head to lesaintmotel.com to book your time in the studio, book private time where you and your friends will be the only ones allowed in, or book the space for an event. The dedicated, caring staff will make sure that you have a good time. I do have one warning for you before you book. If you have kids, they won't want to leave. Whether you're at Le Saint Motel or Inchu Bijou, tell them Game Over sent you.
Welcome back to Game Over Montreal. Please like the stream if you like the Montreal Canadiens. I'm Andrew Berkshire. I'm here with Jordan Hachey, and we're here with you, our amazing Montreal Canadiens Game Over Montreal community. I apologize to Romelli in the chat. I accidentally deleted one of your comments. I don't know how I did it. I was just trying to read the chat, and it was like, deleted the comments. And I tried to undelete it. It won't let me do it. So, sorry about that. You can repost your not liking Simon Boisvert if you want. Jakub Dobesh was really solid tonight. I don't think he didn't need to have like a career-defining performance. He just needed to not allow anything weak to go in, and he did that exceptionally well. I thought that the few really high quality chances that he made, he was really confident. He pushed out of his net really aggressively. I think that he countered Carolina's playing style very well. He battled through stuff really well. I was damn impressed with him. And frankly, after the last, I feel like the Canadiens fans right now are in like a almost like PTSD-ish situation post-Olympics, where they just want to see a goaltender play well. And there have been a couple good games, but there hasn't been consistency. And I'm really glad to see Dobeš give us a good one tonight.
Dobeš was just so good. And we see a big problem with his game has been rebound control, right? And I think today, his rebound control, I noticed it in a positive light today. When Dobeš can control his rebounds, he is a very, very good goalie. I must say. Because even though he is a bit chaotic, the chaos is sometimes created from his rebounds. And I just thought he was gloving things down so well. He was every single time that he could slow the pace down and get a whistle, especially in the third period, he took the opportunity to do so. We got a comment in chat, Habs fan in NJ. Do you think Dobeš should have shot at the empty net? He made the right choice, in my opinion. He hesitated for it for a second, but there was just no space. Even if he shot it over the first defender, there were two other defenders right at the blue line that would have been there to glove it down. And I think he made the smart, mature decision. Montreal MUFC says, totally agree. Dobeš was super composed today. Rebound control was on point. And like you said, Andrew, the saves that he needed to make, he made, and he didn't let any stinkers go through.
Yeah, and Montreal MUFC, I think, did he say it was mature? Yeah, the mature response. I would say that tonight was a mature game overall from Dobeš. Like, he didn't feel as panicky as he usually does. He looked really focused. Like, the second goal, the Jordan Staal goal, he looked pissed. And I understand why. He was very much let down by his teammates on that one. But the rest of the game, instead of like playing pissed off, he just played calm and collected and didn't take unnecessary risks. I love that he had the instinct to go for the empty net. I hope he gets one day because it's always fun. But he made the right decision. He 100% made the right decision. It's just not worth the risk. And then Jake Evans made it happen for him anyway.
And I don't know if you saw Dobeš get the announcement of the first star of the night, but they had it, at least on the RDS broadcast, they had him come out and he did an interview at center ice as well. And the crowd going absolutely ballistic for Dobeš. He comes out, he says, he speaks in French even, he goes, "Ça va?" And the crowd just... And he looked like he was about to tear up, man. He really did. Dobeš, like, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and you love to see it. I love seeing a goalie that is just like so in love with hockey and so in love with playing for this team, that loves the fans. In his interview, he was praising the fans the whole time, and you get so happy watching this guy be happy. You watch the three Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield do their little hug at the end of the game. They all have massive smiles on their face. And like, it just feels so good to be a fan of these guys, to be able to root for all these players that are just so happy to be here, that love the fans, that love the pressure here in Montreal, cough, cough, Toronto. And it's really great. And Dobeš is really emblematic of that.
100%. And I see MFM, a different MFM, I believe, says Dobie deserves the wolf hat tonight. I would agree. He was exceptionally solid. Caulfield also was great. Like, the whole top line. The Caulfield chant after, ironically, it was Slavkovsky's goal, was phenomenal in the Bell Center. Like, they were feeling it. And it was dead in the first period. Like, it was really dead. There was a moment, I think it was Lane Hudson had the puck behind the Canadiens' net. And the crowd, like, I was just listening on the broadcast and I was looking into the crowd behind the net and nobody was moving. Like, everybody was just sitting there with like their head in their hands, you know, like, just really unhappy. So to end the game on that note is just magical feeling. Like, it's incredible. And you mentioned Dobeš starting with Sava. I wish that they had started this post-game interview on the ice earlier so that players for the previous generations could realize that just saying a couple words in French, how you have the whole crowd in the palm of your hand. It's just that little tiny bit of respect shown is like takes you to the next level. And I love that players like Dobesh get that. Like he's not the captain of the team. He's not the long-term starter, most likely. He's not an established NHL player, but he already gets that in this market. And that it's just exceptionally cool.
And you got to root for him, right? I am
Yeah.
rooting for this guy, and it's great to see you. Really, well, obviously, we're all rooting for the whole team. And a quick comment from Habs and NJ as well. Slav said he knew he scored in an interview after the game, but he didn't want to take it away from Caulfield. I think so too, because when the puck hits you, right? You do. You feel it. But you see Caulfield celebrating and stuff. Caulfield's just standing there after the goal. He's like, no, I'm good.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
He tried to get Caulfield back a goal later in the game when he pulled a brilliant move entering the Carolina zone, but he probably should have just shot that one.
He took away his shooting angle on that one. He was forcing the pass so much that he took away his opportunity to shoot, and then it was too late there. Yeah, but it was still a close game. Well, also coming up, Andrew, we forgot to mention we do need to have our look at his big ass go moment in the third period.
What's your look at his big ass go moment in the game?
Well, Nick Suzuki on the big hit that created the goal in the second period, I'm pretty sure. Or was it the first period even when it was at least his line that scored, but he lays a big hit right at the Carolina blue line on Seth Jarvis. And it helps us get the puck loose. We get a good forecheck going, and it creates a goal in front.
Yeah, that is awesome. I actually really liked Caden Gooley in the first period.
Oh, yeah.
When the Canadiens were not playing that well, and they were seemingly like really overwhelmed by Carolina, there were like several shifts in a row where Gooley just was going out and laying the body on everyone. Like if you got near Caden Gooley, you were getting mashed into the boards. And it wasn't like he was overextending himself for big hits. He was just placing himself very well positionally, realizing where the puck was going ahead of time and just running guys down. And I thought that was kind of like the slow build towards them getting into the game after starting on the wrong foot.
That's totally fair. Trinka gives it to Gooley as well. I guess I'm outnumbered here, so we will give it to Caden Gooley. He's played with a bit of a mean streak here recently, I've really noticed. I think since, what game was it? I think maybe against Detroit, that he got a stupid penalty call against him that shouldn't have been a penalty. He's been playing really mean since then, and I love it.
Yep. Maybe the trick is to make Gooley mad. Just get him pissed off before the game. Make him act like a bull in a china shop. But I think it's necessary also, because this isn't really something that we need to talk about right now, but the lack of Hachey in the lineup is felt a little bit. Like I think people in general overestimate how big of an impact it is. But when Hachey's not in the lineup, guys like Gooley, guys like Anderson do need to play a little bit bigger. And it's nice to see them answering the bell, right? And playing that role. Okay, should we transition into the talk about toughness quickly?
Well, what a great segue. We're already talking about it. So
that's a good point.
Let's move on. Yeah, topic of toughness. Obviously, that's a big talking point at the very least in mainstream media, right? For the playoffs. And you see a lot of talk about it, but how much does toughness really mean? That'll be what we're talking about here in the third segment. Leave some of your thoughts down below. Do we need to be playing Arbor Hachey? Do you think that if we step up enough with our other guys in the lineup, it's fine? Does Montreal need more toughness in the future, not just this year? Think about it. But before we do talk about that, please leave a like on our stream. Please subscribe to our channels. It really does mean a lot. Thank you so much for being in our community, and every single share helps us with the algorithm that we unfortunately have to bear with here on YouTube. And thank you guys so much. And Andrew, I'll hand it back to you. You were just talking about Arbor Hachey. Do you think he comes back in the lineup soon?
He's got to eventually, I think, heading into the playoffs. I like how Struble is playing overall lately, but I'm still not confident in what they're doing with the defense pairings. Marty's still going to Dobbs and Matheson a bit too much for me. I don't like that pairing anymore. They had a stretch of time where they were very good, but they haven't been for a good stretch of time. I think I'd like to see a couple of different looks before we get into the playoffs. I wrote an article about Hachey, a long one, a very long one, for Habs Eyes and the Prize that I didn't realize was published today because I wrote it last week. But I checked in and there was like 250 something comments already, and I haven't even really got a chance to look through it yet. But basically, I looked through it analytically, and like the difference between Struble and Hachey is not large. They kind of play different roles, so it's hard to compare them. Struble gets a lot better partners on average than Hachey does, and neither of them work with Alex Carrier. So like that's kind of an issue. And both of them, their best partner is actually ironically each other this season. So there's like a lot of things that go into that, but also a lot of the narrative around Arber Xhekaj is just incorrect. Like the idea that the Canadiens necessarily need him in the lineup to play physical, I find nonsensical, but the fact that he's like a huge liability defensively is also not true. Like his defensive results this season are actually okay. The biggest problem that he has is that he's been an offensive black hole. Like when he's on the ice, the Canadiens don't generate anything. I don't know what's up with that, but he's got to find a role on this team that he can be a beneficial person outside of the intimidation stuff, because the physical side, it's great. It's fun. It's not enough. You also have to be a contributor. The whole thing about Hachey being a unicorn was that he could play a regular shift and not hurt you and be the physical intimidating guy. If he's only going to be the physical intimidating guy, he no longer has that much value.
Earlier in his career, I thought Hachey, at least it was my impression that Hachey had some offensive potential. Nothing crazy like being a top defenseman or anything, but it seemed like, oh, well, he's got a really good shot. And even Montreal tried him a few times on the second power play unit. I know they used to do that. I mean, granted, it was when we were like the worst team you've ever seen, but still, like it's still worth noting that it did seem at one point like he did have some offensive potential. And something we are seeing with Struble is, at least over the last stretch, is that he is making really effective plays at pinching in the offensive zone. And even if you aren't contributing like in terms of goals in the offensive zone, just being able to hold the offensive third is really important, especially if you're on the ice with Lane Hutson in the first line, right? And that's what we're seeing of Struble being able to add a layer to his game that you can say this is something he's actually doing well and effectively. And Arber Xhekaj hasn't done that except for his toughness, at least over like the last long stretch that we've seen. And it is a bit unfortunate. I do think he does need to come back in the lineup. Since you mentioned that you thought he should play with Matheson, I totally agree. I would want that to be tried. I do think Xhekaj has more potential to be better than Struble can be because of his physicality. And in the playoffs, when he's theoretically not going to get called as much for little things, he can help Montreal out a lot. It's just about trying to figure out the balance and trying to figure out how you can slot him in the lineup, because if we don't play him until the playoffs, there's no way he can get in and like we can realistically expect him to be playing well in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like he can't play like a couple of games post Olympics and then be put into the playoffs. That's not realistic. They have to manage it a little bit better than that. And I'm surprised, honestly, that they've stuck with Struble for so many games in a row, because they didn't do that for most of the season. Like Struble got rotated in. He's played a fair chunk of games, but mostly it was Hachey who was like the default. And then once in a while they'd throw Struble in, or if there's an injury, both of them would play. But like Hachey has lost a spot. Like he's dropped down on the depth chart this year. Like that's something that I know his supporters don't like to hear, but it is due to play. It's not because Marty hates Arber Xhekaj. That's just not true. There's no evidence of that, right? I think the frustration for me watching Struble isn't that I dislike Jaden Struble. I think that he's just a little bit too similar to Alex Carrier. He's a bit stronger, a little bit bigger, but they both pinch relatively similarly. I think Carrier is better at it. His touch is better. And they both play a similar type of defensive style where they're like more about disrupting things than necessarily like knocking guys over. But the other thing with Struble is like when we're comparing him to Hachey, it's not like Struble's soft.
Yeah.
You know, like the people who want Jack Guy in the lineup. Struble is weirdly, despite the fact that he's, I think, the third tallest defenseman on the team outside of Arbor Jack Guy, he's the heaviest guy on that defense group. Like, he's built like a brick wall. He's not weak. So the whole obsession with toughness, I get it. But I also look back at last year's playoffs where the Canadiens were very clearly out-toughed. Like, they were the smaller team. They were not nearly as physical as the Washington Capitals. But they did not shy away at any point in that whole series. And the narrative was constantly on like the physicality. That's what won the series. That's not what won the series last year. That was what media wanted to say won the series last year. But the difference was Logan Thompson. That was the biggest difference in that series, was Logan Thompson. The Canadiens actually outplayed the Capitals by almost every metric in that series. If you're getting pounded into the ether and like you cannot generate because the other team is too physical, you're not going to outchance them. That's not how physically wearing a team down works. So that whole idea of toughness, it 100% matters, but it matters way more that Cole Caulfield will go and throw his body like a cannonball into somebody on a forecheck than having a Tom Wilson out there destroying people left and right. It's the willingness to hit and get hit that matters more than the actual size.
Certainly it does. And if we look at the chat here, Ramelli says the Wilson hit on Karen was also a big part of the series, but yeah, Thompson was the biggest difference. Montreal UFC says, to be honest, it's difficult to argue against toughness when Florida went to 3 consecutive Cup finals. Before that, Tampa was doing good. I will say Florida was just an incredible team, and they happened to be tough. I think the lessons taken from that squad are just a bit wrong. Like, not that they aren't tough, and not that they're not dirty, because they are certainly that. And by the way, I don't know if anyone saw that ridiculously slap on the wrist suspension on AJ Greer that I do want to say publicly that is ridiculous. He should minimum at the very least be getting 10 games. It was a hit on Connor Zary, who's off balance driving towards the boards, and he's like 5 feet away from the boards, and he just shoves him down, and he hits, like, Zary hits his neck, and he doesn't even get a in-person hearing. Anyway, back to the Florida thing. I mean, Anton Lundell was their 3C. Anton Lundell is a top 6 centerman. Sam Bennett won the Conn Smythe, who just turned up in the playoffs because nothing gets called. Sam Bennett, who's supposed to be like either him or Lundell are your 3C. You have the best two-way center in the league in Barkov. You have incredible goaltending in Bobrovsky, who's played really well in the playoffs. And you have an extremely, very, very good defense core with Aaron Ekblad is like their 3rd best defenseman in that run. Like, it's not that their toughness won them the series. It's that they're an incredible team and they're also tough, which obviously helps, but like, they're so good. I find that the narrative there is a little excessive for me.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing is whenever you talk about toughness and you kind of, I don't want to say we're like poo-pooing it, but we're saying like it's not the be-all end-all. And I'm not trying to come at you, Montreal MUFC, but saying like arguing against toughness. I don't think either of us are arguing against toughness. I think what we're saying is that if you're building like a hierarchy of what's important in hockey to win, media acts like toughness is here. And it's really like here. Like, there's a sticking up for each other, team toughness thing for sure. But like going out there and hurting guys is here. Because most of the time, most teams, unlike the Florida Panthers, don't get away with it. Now, I do think the Canadiens, when they are in a Stanley Cup competitive mode, are going to have to play dirtier hockey than they do right now. They're going to have to cheat more. But also, I understand why they don't, because look at the penalty differential. Like, they get hosed. So I feel like right now they either don't know how to cheat because they're young and inexperienced. Like, they don't know as a team what they can get away with. or they know that they're not getting away with anything, so they don't push it. But in general, I find that they're not a team that interferes a lot, which most Stanley Cup winners interfere a lot. Like a lot. Tampa Bay was probably the worst I've ever seen. I don't think that they hook that much. They get caught high sticking a lot, which I think is just carelessness. But I don't know. I think that they're going to have to learn how to be a little bit dirtier and throw some elbows here and there. But I think it's legitimate that they don't want to do that because they get called on everything.
And Montreal MUC says we will eventually have to master the dark arts. Yeah, like you said, Andrew, it is something that
Exactly.
they're going to have to do. And lately, Gooley's been playing with that edge. What are some of the answers in the room that we already have that can start playing with that edge? We saw it with Gooley.
It's a good question.
I think Slavkovsky has the potential to be playing with that edge. Once in a while, he does. Not very often, but I think he definitely can. You're looking at maybe Suzuki, who you're not thinking of as like a guy who's going to be a big hitter, dirty player type of thing, but you do see once in a while he lays big hits, and that's something that maybe you'll need in the playoffs. And the answers, I still think, are probably in the room here. We also have Florian Jacki coming up, who seems to be
Yep.
like he can be a very good fourth line playoff guy, which is exactly what like the mainstream media at least would be clamoring for. So there's answers here already, and I think the answers shouldn't be forced as well. We shouldn't have to go out of our way and give up extra assets to go for toughness uniquely. But if we're getting someone who's tough and is also really good, then that's fine.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's squash it there. Oh, Riley says playoff Anderson plays like that.
Oh,
Yes,
Anderson?
playoff
Yeah.
Anderson. Sometimes I wonder, like when the Canadiens are in a situation where they're maybe against a team that's better than them, if it might be worthwhile for Anderson to just get himself suspended. But we'll talk about that in the overtime segment, which we're going to start right now as I start a Q&A on the YouTube side. Now that I know how it works and I can see the questions, we are now transitioning to overtime. So if you've got questions here for Game Over Montreal, please let us know. I'm going to go back to the chat for a second here. Oh, didn't mean to zoom in. Trinket says Florian's going to have 5 linesmen on him every whistle because of his last name and actions. Yeah, that is the other thing. I mean, little brothers always have to deal with, or little siblings, I guess, always have to deal with the reputation of the older sibling.
If there's two of them, they can't hold both of them. That's all I'll say. They can't hold back both of them. So it'll work out if Jacki can figure out his game.
Yeah, and Trinka also said Matheson gets away with stuff. I feel like he can be useful in the playoffs. Yes, when Matheson gets an attitude going, he is a little dirty guy. Like he gets in there, the elbows fly, the sticks go into ribs. He's good at it, and he is sneaky, which most of the Canadians are not very sneaky. Like I think that's one of Arbor's biggest problems is he's not sneaky. Slavkovsky too. Like I would say like for Slavkovsky, I would compare it to. I'm just going to use boxing because I do that all the time. So when you're boxing, one of the reasons why when you're punching, your main punches are like just straight, right? They're just straight. Like you can go like this and hit way harder if you do like the big, huge swing, but everyone's going to see it happening. And Slavkovsky, when it comes to when he cheats, is very like this. Like when he trips a guy, he's like, I'm going to reach in. And then he's got like one hand up like this and everybody's paying attention. And I feel like Arbor's a little bit like that too. I don't think it excuses the way that those two players are officiated. I feel like the officials treat them pretty horribly. Like Arbor Jacki has gone over the line before, but he is officiated like he's Tom Wilson. And he just doesn't have the track record to justify that kind of treatment. Like he doesn't even have that many NHL fights for who he is. So it's bad. But yeah, I think Slav particularly is not sneaky.
I think Texier is very sneaky. I know you mentioned that a lot. Texier is very, very fun. When he wants to
who
be.
Texier reminds me of? Plekanec. One of the sneakiest dirty players of all time. And talk to anybody who like took face-offs against him. They hate that dude, and it just made me love him more.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay, we're finally getting some questions in. So here's a good one, or maybe not a good one, depending. Um, what do you think of the idea of trying to trade for Tom Wilson, as Washington could be unloading some veterans and trying to retool with their younger guys?
No
Like
thanks,
I
personally.
I dislike him too much to want him on my team. Theoretically, on paper, purely, I guess. I guess. Like he could help. Can be an effective player, but I would have a really hard time rooting for that dude. Like he is extremely dirty. I really don't enjoy watching him play, even if he was on Montreal. And also, I believe he has like a relatively expensive contract with term,
He
which
does.
is not ideal for Montreal, who's rebuilding. So, no, thank you.
Yeah, I just think he's not what they need. Like the Canadians do need a physical scoring winger, don't get me wrong, but I think Tom Wilson doesn't play the way that the Canadians play. Like I don't think you really want him just standing in front of the net on a top line. Like I just there's so many different routes that they can go. I would rather not get a guy that is a legit dirty player, has a long suspension history, kind of an a-hole. Like, I want to like the team.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm wrong for that, but I wouldn't want him on the team, to be honest. There was a question here. Steve LaRusick says, when does Cole Caulfield start getting put out with the empty net? Because like he's on the search for 50. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that it's a point of pride now that he's got 0 empty net goals.
Steven, he'll get it despite never being out for an empty net. I will tell you right now, he's gonna get it. He has been
Like
playing
he's
too
in
well.
Rocket Richard territory.
He's 1 goal back from McKinnon, maybe 2.
One.
And McKinnon has 5 empty net goals, by the way. So he's better. Confirmed.
Cole Caulfield better than McKinnon. Confirmed. Montreal FC says, I hope someone somewhere is working with Arbor to try to develop different skills that can turn him into a fourth liner upon need. Habs fan in New Jersey says, it seems like Dobson's play has been a lot more physical lately. If he can use his body more effectively, that's going to make him even more formidable. Sorry, I thought those two were related, but they were not. There was another comment in there about Adam Nicholas that I am missing now, but that's okay because I got it in my head. I do think the Canadians do have their skills coaches working with the guys who aren't playing, and even with the guys who are playing. We've seen them, like, they post videos sometimes, but they are so keyed in on development compared to the previous regime. Like, I don't think there's anybody in the organization that they're not actively trying to improve their game. Like, that's the biggest difference between this organization and the previous regime. Is the previous regime was, if you're good, you will show us that you're good, and then you will make the NHL. And this regime is, every single person in this organization, we want to give you the best chance to make the NHL and stay in the NHL. Look how much they've worked with Slavkovsky. Like, no one would have believed that he's close to 30 goals this year. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
After watching him as like a rookie when he couldn't shoot the puck at all, like it's crazy what he's been able to do. And Trinket says, I need to know why Adam Nicholas's nickname is Big Cat. I love nicknames and need the lore.
I would say I love the development that we see, like, from this front office. This is a real good, competent front office for the first time in my life. You love to see it. Really see the development, like, from every player in the lineup. I've mentioned many times about Josh Anderson's development. We've seen even Mike Matheson, I would argue, has developed here. I mean, anyone. Caulfield has seen an absolute surge. He's become a complete player. I know I talked about it with Kay last week in a stream where we talked about him becoming a more complete player. Like, he is very good in transition on defense now. I've really noticed that, and that was something that was never in his game when he was younger. He's pretty effective at like board battles, an average player in that sense. That's something he's improved on as well. So it's just like every single player you're seeing that difference. You're seeing the attention to detail that this staff and this front office is putting in. And that is also what creates a true contender, not just bringing in the right players and building up a ton of draft picks. And it's also at every level having the right approach.
Yeah, and it's not just like ham-fisted development either. It's not like they're going to every player and teaching them the same thing. They're finding specific things that players can improve to like fill slots on the team. Like there's a reason why they went to Josh Anderson, and they're not working on his shot. They worked on him killing penalties, like running better defensive routes. They improved things that needed to improve in his game anyway, but also like were areas where he could fit into a slot that could earn him more ice time so that they could move him down at even strength and not feel like they're neutering him. Like Josh Anderson is essentially a fourth line player right now. He still scores a lot. Like that's kind of what's special about him. He's not a play driver necessarily. He's not really a guy who makes a line function because he's just a straight A to B guy, straight up and down the ice. He doesn't make a lot of plays. He's not a good playmaker. However, no matter where you put him, no matter what role you expect him to play, he's going to flirt with 20 goals. He's just a around 20 goal scorer, even on the fourth line, because he gets opportunities that few players do.
Is he that high this year? Does he have that many goals?
I think he's got 15 already.
Let's see. He does have 13 goals. That is more than
13?
I thought.
I thought it was 15.
That is way more than I thought, though. That is, yeah. Anderson, you're right. He has been a 20 goal scorer before. He had 27 on Columbus when that was like the allure of bringing him into Montreal, right? But obviously he's not that player. That's what we call an outlier year. But he has had like 21 on Montreal before. Last year he had 15. So yeah, it is a bit different where maybe the actual goals will take a dip, but he creates a lot of good chances. If there was an award for most breakaways, he would win. If there was an award for most breakaways not scored on, he would also win. So it really is like a guy who does create a lot of opportunities. And like you said, the development has been great for him.
All right. Final note, just a yes or no. We're not even going to explain. Would you try Arbor Jacki as a forward? I've seen a bunch of people ask about this lately.
Yes.
Yes, I would too. I would try it. All right. That's it for us tonight on Game Over Montreal. If you hadn't seen it yet, we debuted a new show this week, Forbidden Face Off. My wife and I, my partner and I, are working together on this. It's going to be released over the next 4 weeks on every Monday. Each episode of Heated Rivalry reviewed one by one, except for the last one where we watched the last 2 episodes together. We couldn't turn it off. We had to close it out. But so far, pretty good feedback on it. I think it's really fun. And I think you'll see like a different side of me because it's more of a personal thing. And I'm the hockey person. She's the romance bookworm. And we kind of come at it from 2 sides. I think it's a unique take. And so far, feedback's pretty good. All right. We'll see you on the other side. This was Game Over Montreal. Like us, share us, subscribe to us. I'm Andrew Berkshire. He's Jordan Hachey. You're an amazing community. Habs win.